Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namaste. I hope we are all ready for tonight's satsang. For those of you who are doing the puja, please get ready. First, sprinkle water on the prayer goods and all the participating devotees. Om apavitra pavitro va sarvavastan gatopi va yah smaret pundarikaksham sabhaya bhayantarah suchihi. Sip water from the palm of your right hand, once with each mantra. Om Keshavaya Namaha, Om Narayanaaya Namaha. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Now rinse your hands. Om Rishikeshaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Om Madhusudanaya Namaha. If you have a kus ring, please put it on the ring finger of the right hand. Om Pavitreshto Vaishnavyo Saviturvaha Prasava Utpunam Yachitrena Pavitrena Suryasa Rashmibhi Tasyate Pavitrapate Pavitraputasya Yatkamaha Punetachakayam. Put a chandan tika on your forehead. Om Chandanam Bandete Nityam Pavitram Papanashanam Apadam Harite Nityam Lakshmir Vasatu Sarvada. Light a lamp, your house lamp or lamp on the bedi. Om Bodhipa Tvam Brahma Rupa Andakara Nivaraka Imamaya Kritam Pujam Grihaste Jo Pravardaya. Om Deepaya Namaha. Put a drop of water on the bedi. Om Prithvi Tvaya Dhrita Loka Devi Tvam Vishnuna Dhrita Tvancha Dharaya Mam Devi Pavitram Kuru Chasanam. We will now do Swasti Vachan. Take some flowers and rice in your hand. Om Swastina Indro Vridashravaha Swastinaha Pusha Vishvavedaha Swastina Starikshora Rishtanemehi Swastino Brihaspatir Dadhatu Om Paya Prithviyam Paya Oshadishu Payo Divyantarikshe Payodaha Payasvati Pradishah Santu Mahyam. Om Vishnuratamasi Vishnu Shnaptreshto Vishnu Surasi Vishnu Dhruvosi Vaishnavamasi Vishnavetva. Om Agnir Devata Vato Devata Suryo Devata Chandrama Devata Vasavo Devata Rudra Devata Ditya Devata Maruto Devata Vishwe Deva Devata Brihaspatir Devatendro Devata Varuno Devata. Om Dio Shantir Antarikshagum Shanti Prithvi Shantir Apah Shantir Oshadayah Shanti Vanaspatayah Shantir Vishwadevah Shantir Brahma Shanti Sarvagum Shanti Shantireva Shanti Sama Shantiredhi. Om Vishwani Deva Savitar Duritani Parasuva Yad Badrantanna Asuvah. Offer the flowers. We will now do Ganesh and Gauri Puja. Take some flowers and rice in your hand. Om He Heramva Tumeyehi Ambika Triambagatmaja Siddhi Buddhi Patetre Aksha Laksha Labha Pitu Pitaha Nagasya Nagaharatvam Ganaraja Chaturbhuja Bhushitah Svayurde Divye Pashan Kusha Parasvade Avahayami Pujartam Rakshartancha Mama Krito Ihagatya Grihanatvam Pujam Kratuncha Rakshame. Om Gananantva Ganapatigvam Havamehe Priyanantva Priyapatigvam Havamehe Nidinantva Nidipatigvam Havamehe Vaso Mama Aham Jani Garbadam Tvamajasi Garbadam. Om Bhurbhuvasva Ganapataye Namaha. Om Ambe Ambike Ambalike Namanyati Kastana Sasastya Shwaka Shubhadrikam Kampi Lavasinim. Om Bhurbhuvasva Ambikaye Namaha. Offer the flowers. Now offer water 4 times to Ganesh and Gauri. Om Idam Padyam Esho Argyam Tata Achmanyam Jalam Snanyam Cha Maya Dattam Grihana Parameshwara. Om Ganapatye Namaha Gauriye Namaha. Offer clothing twice to Ganesh and Gauri. Om Ime Vastra Yagyopavita Ganapatye Namaha Gauriye Namaha. Offer some chandan, tika. Om Gandham Chandanam Ganapatye Namaha Gauriye Namaha. Abir Kumkum Sindur Ityadi. Offer the colors. Om Abiram Kumkumam Cheva Sinduram Bhagyavardhanam nivedayami te mata grihana parameshwari. Offer some white rice. Om ime akshatah ganapatiye namaha gauriye namaha. Fool, some flowers. Om idam pushpam ganapatiye namaha gauriye namaha. Offer an agarbatti. Om tato dupam agrapayami ganapatiye namaha gauriye namaha. Arti. Om pratyakshadipam darshayami ganapatiye namaha gauriye namaha. Rinse your hands. Om hasta prakshalanam. Offer some prasad on a pan if possible. Om nevedyam samarpayami ganapatiye namaha gauriye namaha. Achman. Om achmanyam ganapatiye namaha gauriye namaha. Offer pan, a supari, clove, camphor and a coin. Om tambulam pungifalam ganapatiye namaha gauriye namaha. Arti again. Om yani kani chapa pani janmantra kritani cha tani sarvani vinashyanti pradakshina pade pade. Bolo Vignaharata Ganesh Bhagwan ki jai. Gauri Mata ki jai. Take some flowers and rice in your hands again. We'll do the Dhyan mantra for Kalash, Varun. Om Tattvayami Brahmana Vandamanas Tada Shaste Yajamano Havirabi Ahedamano Varuneha Vojya Rusha Gomsamana Ayu Pramoshi. We will now move on to Sri Krishna Bhagwan's puja. Take some flour and some til, or if you don't have til, some white rice in your hands. Om Vasudeva Sutan Devam Kansa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Offer some petals for a seat. Om Vishveshwara Jagannatha Deva Deveshwara Priya Asana Divya Sarvesha Dasya Hantubhyam Ishwaram. Offer water 4 times. Om Idam Padyam Esho Argyam Tata Achmanyam Jalam Snanyam Cha Maya Dattam Grihana Parameshwara. Offer a drop of Panchamrit. Om Snanam Panchamritam Deva Grihana Parameshwara Anatanata Sarvagya Girvana Pranati Priya. Offer another drop of water. Om Ganga Godavari Reva Saryu Yamuna Tatha Saraswatyadi Tirtani Snanartam Prati Grihatam. Of a piece of cotton for Yagyopavit. Om Yagyopavitam Paramam Pavitram Prajapatiyat Sahajam Purastat Ayushyamagrayam Pratimunsha Shubram Yagyopavitam Balamastu Tejaha. Of another piece of cotton for clothing. Om Vedasukta Samayukta Yagya Sama Samanvite Sarvavarna Pradadeva Vasasi Pratigrihatam. Offer some chandan. Om Shri Khandam Chandanam Divyam Gandhyadhyam Sumanoharam Vilepanam Surashreshta Chandanam Pratigrihatam. Offer some til or white rice. Om Akshatanscha Surashreshta Shubradunascha Nirmala Maya Nivedita Bhaktya Grihana Parameshwara. Offer some phool, some flowers. Om Mallikadi Sugandhini Malatyadini Ve Prabho Mayaritani Pujartam Pushpani Pratigrihatam. Offer tulsi leaf. Om tulasi manjari bhirya kuryat hariharachanam nasa garbha griham yati mukti bhago na sanshayam. Agarbati. Om vanaspati rasodbhuto gandhadhyo gandha uttamaha agreya sarvadevanam dhupoyam pratigrihatam. Of an arti. Om sajyam cha varti sanyuktam vanina yojitam maya deepam grihana devesha trailokya timirapaha. Rinse your hands. Om hasta prakshalanam. Offer some prasad, some sweet food or fruit or nevaid. Om gritpakvam havishyanam payasham cha shisharkaram nanavidam cha nevedyam vishnurme pratigrihatam. Offer achman, water. Om sarva papa haram divyam gangeyam nirmalam jalam ajmaya tam maya dattam grihana parmeshwara. Offer pan, supari, long, kapur. And a coin. Om pungi phalam mahadravyam nagavalli daleritam grihana deva devesha drakshadini sureshwara. Arti again. Om yani kani cha papani janmantra kritani cha tani tani vinashyanti pradakshina pade pade. Bolo Shri Radhe Krishna Bhagwan ki Jai. Vanshi shobhita karamadura Nila jaladetana sham Arunaya dhara jano bimba phala Nayana kamalaya biram Purna Indra Aravinda Mukha Pitambara Shubha Saja Jayamana Mohana Madana Chabi Krishna Chandra Maharaj. Jaya Dunandana Jaya Jagvandana Jai Vasudeva Devaki Nandana Jai Yashoda Sutananda Dulare Jai Prabhu Bhaktan Ke Vigtare. Jai Natanadar Nath Nathaiya Krishna Kanhaiya Denu Charaiya Puninak Para Prabhu Girivar Dharo Aavo Dinan Kashta Nivaro Vanshi Madhuraya Dhara Dhari Teri Howe Purna Vinay Yaha Meri Aao Hari Puni Makan Chako Aaj Laaj Bharat Ki Rakho. Gol Kapol Chibuk Arunare Mridu Muskan Mohini Dare Ranjit Rajiv Nayan Vishala Mor Mukut Vajanti Mala Kundala Shravana Pitpat Ache Kati Kinkani Kachan Kache Nila Jalaja Sundara Tanu Sohe Chabi Laki Sur Nar Muni Man Mohe. मस्तक तिलक यालक घुंघराले, आओ कृष्ण बांसुरी वाले। कृपया पान पोतन ही तारियो, आका बका का दासुर मारियो। मधुबन जलत अग्नि जप ज्वाला, भय शीतल लखित नंद लाला। सुरपति जब ब्रज चरयो रिसाई, मूसर धार बारी बरसाई। लगत लगत ब्रज चन बहायो, गोवर्धन नख भारी बचायो। लखी यशोदामन भ्रमय दिखाई, मुख में 14 भुवन दिखाई। दुष्ट कंस यति उधम मचायो, कोटि कमल जब फूल मंगायो। नाथी काली यहीं तब तुम लीन है, चरण छिण जय निर्भय कीन है। करी गोपिन संग रास विलासा, सबके पूरन करी अभिलाषा। केतिक माया सुर सनार्यो, कंसई केस पकड़ी जय मारियो। मात पिता की बंदी छुड़ाई, उग्रसेन का राज दिलाई। मही से मृतक चाहो सुत लायो, मातु देव की शोक मिटायो। भौमासुर मुर दैत्य संहारी, लाए 18 सहस कुमारी। दैविनी तृण क्षीर सहारा, जरा सिंधु राक्षस का मारा। असुर बकासुर यादिक मारियो, भक्तन के तब कष्ट निवार्यो। दीन सुदामा के दुख तारियो, तंदुल 3 मुट्ठी मुख डारियो। प्रेम के साग विदुर घर मांगे, दुर्योधन के नेवा त्यागे। लखी प्रेम की महिमा भारी, ऐसे श्याम दीन हितकारी। भारत के पारत रथ आके, लिए चक्र कर नहीं बलता के। निज गीता के ज्ञान सुनाए, भक्तन हृदय सुधा वर्षाए। मीरा थी ऐसी मत वाली, विष पी गई बजा कर ताली। राणा भेजा सांप पिटारी, शालिग्राम बने बनवारी। निज माया तुम विद्य ही दिखायो, पुरते संशय सकल मिटायो। तब शत निंदा करी तत्काला, जीवन मुक्त भयो शिशुपाला। जब ही द्रौपदी तेर लगाई, दीनानाथ लाज अब जाई। तुरत ही बसन बने नंद लाला, बढ़े चिड़ भय हरि मुँह काला। असनाथ के नाथ कन्हैया, डूबत भंवर बचावत नैया। सुंदर दास आस उरधारी, दया दृष्टि की जय बनवारी। नाथ सकल मम कुमति निवारो, क्षमहु बेगी अपराध हमारो। खोलो पट अब दर्शन दीजय, बोलो कृष्ण कन्हैया की जय। यह चालीसा कृष्ण का पाठ करे उरधारी, अष्ट सिद्धि नवनिधि फल लहै पदारथ चारी।
अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं, रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्।
अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं, रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्।
अच्युते भगवान आते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं।
कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं।
अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं, रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। कौन कहते भगवान खाते नहीं, मेरी शबरी की जैसे खिलाते नहीं।
कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं, तेरे शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं।
अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं, रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। कौन कहते भगवान सोते नहीं, माँ यशोदा की जैसे सुलाते नहीं।
कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं।
अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं, रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। कौन कहते भगवान नाचते नहीं, गोपियों की तरह तुम नचाते नहीं।
कौन कहते हैं भगवान नाचते नहीं, गोपियों की तरह तुम नचाते नहीं।
अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं, रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्, रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्।
बोलो कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय।
ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः, गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। ध्यानमूलं गुरुर्मूर्तिः, पूजामूलं गुरुपदं, मन्त्रमूलं गुरुर्वाक्यं, मोक्षमूलं गुरुकृपा। ॐ कस्तूरितिलकं ललाटपटले, वक्षस्थले कौस्तुभं, नासाग्रे वरमौक्तिकं करतले, वेणुं करे कङ्कणं, सर्वाङ्गे हरिचन्दनं सुललितं, कन्ते च मुक्तावली गोपस्त्रीपरिवेष्टितो विजयते गोपालाचूडामणि फुल्लेन्दीवरकान्तिमिन्दुवदनं ब्रह्मावतं सप्रियं श्रीवत्साङ्कमुदारकौस्तुभधरं पीताम्बरं सुन्दरम् गोपीनां नयनोत्पलार्चिततनुं गोगोपसङ्घावृतं गोविन्दं कलवेणुवादनपरं दिव्याङ्गभूषं भजे। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्बा त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्ण प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमया प्रदीप प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोण तथा जयद्रथा जला गन्धारनीलोत्पला शल्याग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनवर्धिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरननदी कैवर्तक केशवा पाराशर्यवच सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कथं नानाख्यानककेशरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जनशतपदैरहरः पेपीयमाणं मूढा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमला प्रध्वांसि नः श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैर्वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगा ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुसुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः। गीता सुगीता कर्तव्य किमन्ये शास्त्रसङ्ग्रहे या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखे पद्मध्वनिश्रिता सर्वशास्त्रमयी गीता सर्ववेदोमयो हरि सर्वतीर्थमयी गङ्गा सर्ववेदमयो मनुः। गीता गंगा च गायत्री गोविन्देति हृदि स्थिते चतुर्गकारसंयुक्ते पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते। भारत अमृत सर्वस्य गीतायमथितस्य च सारमुद्धृत्य कृष्णेन अर्जुनस्य मुखे हुतम्।
ओम जय भगवत गीते मैया जय भगवत गीते हरिय कमल विहारिणी हरिय कमल विहारिणी सुंदर सुभनीते। ओम जय भगवत गीते करम सुमरम प्रकाशनी कामा सती हरा मैया कामा सती हरा सर्वज्ञान विकासनी सर्वज्ञान विकासनी वेद्या ब्रह्म परा। ओम जय भगवत गीते निश्चल भक्ति विधायणी निर्मल मलहारी मैया निर्मल मलहारी शरण रहस्य प्रदायणी शरण रहस्य प्रदायणी सब विधि सुखकारी। ओम जय भगवत गीते राग द्वेष विधारिणी कारिणी मोद सदा मैया कारिणी मोद सदा भव भय हारिणी तारिणी भव भय हारिणी तारिणी परमानंद प्रधा। ओम जय भगवत गीते आसुर भाव विनाशनी नाशनी तम रजनी मैया नाशनी तम रजनी देवी सदगुण दयानी देवी सदगुण दयानी हरि रसिका सजनी। ओम जय भगवत गीते समता त्याग सिखावनी हरि मुख की वाणी मैया हरि मुख की वाणी सकल शास्त्र की स्वामिनी सकल शास्त्र की स्वामिनी श्रुतियों की रानी। ओम जय भगवत गीते दया सुधा बरसावनी माँ तुम्हें पागी जय मैया माँ तुम्हें पागी जय हरि पद प्रेम दान कर हरि पद प्रेम दान कर अपनो कर जय। ओम जय भगवत गीते ओम जय भगवत गीते मैया जय भगवत गीते हरिय कमल विहारिणी हरिय कमल विहारिणी सुंदर सुभनीते। ओम जय भगवत गीते।
Jai Shri Krishna. Today we are going to read Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 5, verse 26. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. काम क्रोध विमुक्तानां यतीनां यत चेतसाम् अभितो ब्रह्म निर्वाणं वर्तते विदित आत्मनां। हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। इस श्लोक में श्री कृष्णा कहते हैं कि जो काम और क्रोध से मुक्त है, जिसका मन वश में है और जो लगातार कृष्णा के करीब आने का प्रयास कर रहा है, वह निकट भविष्य में मुक्ति का आश्वासन देता है. Shri Krishna says in this shlok that one who is free from desire and anger, the one that is self-realized, the one whose mind is under control, and the one who is constantly making an effort to get closer to Shri Krishna is assured of liberation in the near future. So after listening to Shlok 24 and 25, the various symptoms of a self-realized soul, we might feel like we can never do this. लेकिन श्री कृष्णा हमें आश्वस्त कर रहे हैं कि चिंता न करें, क्योंकि हर कोई ऐसा कर सकता है. But Shri Krishna is reassuring us not to worry, because everyone can do this, and he is going to explain how in this verse. So, Karma Yoga is a safer path to take for most people, as was explained in chapter 5, verse 2. और इसलिए श्री कृष्णा ने अर्जुन को इसकी सिफारिश की, and that is why Shri Krishna recommended it to Arjun. But for someone who is truly detached from the world, karma sannyas is also suitable. It is of an advantage actually, because there is no 1. Dividing of time and energy towards duties. 2. They can dedicate themselves fully to the practice of spirituality. 3. They can make rapid progress and experience peace everywhere. And 4. By getting rid of the urges of desire and anger, and by bringing the mind under control, they now attain perfect peace both in this life and hereafter. You see, we often secretly blame others for the lack of peace in our lives, and we hope for the day when the situation will improve so we can get peace of mind. However, we must understand peace is not dependent upon others or any external situation. We get peace from our purified mind, intellect, and senses. The sannyasis find the ocean of peace within. They do not depend on external circumstances. When they have this internal peace in order, then they begin to experience peace everywhere and are liberated in this world itself. So in this shlok, Sri Krishna mentions the word kama. If the senses are not engaged in the loving service of Sri Krishna, then they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. भौतिक इच्छाओं की पूर्ति नहीं होने से क्रोध और मन, आंख और छाती उत्तेजित हो जाते हैं. Material desires, when not fulfilled, causes anger, and the mind's eye and chest become agitated. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up his material body. One who can do this is understood to be, according to verse 26, Vidit Atmanam, that is, self-realized. So it is a duty, therefore, of all of us, of everyone, to try strenuously to control desire and anger. Now, we also have a deep-rooted problem in all of this. And what is that? We always have this mentality. What is in it? What is there in it for me? What would I get by doing this? We first decide the result and then start working. We are more interested in enjoying the result, and this is deep-rooted in us. Now, after having such deep-rooted problems, how is it possible to attain the Supreme? There is only one solution, and that is Bhakti Yoga. Here we are all engaged in the service of Bhagwan Shri Krishna. So he will pull us out of this deep-rooted problem and place us in a supreme destination. So there might be another question that props up, and that is, God's home, God's abode is so far away. How can we get there? A very good analogy is given using 3 different animals. The fish lays its eggs and keeps looking at them, and just by vision they will hatch. The bird sits on the eggs to keep them warm to hatch. The tortoise lays its eggs on the shore and goes back to the water and meditates on them. And by intense meditation, the eggs will hatch. Remarkable, isn't it? Similarly, a devotee, although away from the Lord's abode, can constantly think of him every single day, and then they will attain their ultimate destination. What can we do to be close to Bhagwan? We can clean the mandir, we can bathe the murtis, we can make prasad, and so on. When a person is immersed totally in the Supreme, he or she will not be touched by the miseries of the world. Miseries will be there, no doubt, just like rain is always there. But if I do not want to get wet in the rain, I will carry an umbrella. So, in immersing oneself in God is like carrying an umbrella. Miseries will be there, but we have a protection. We will not be affected at all, and such a person remains stable and happy throughout his life. Please understand that challenges will also be there, but it will be lessened. And finally, towards the end of his life, since his meditation is strong on Sri Krishna, he leaves his body remembering Sri Krishna and goes back home to God. Such a person, says Bhagwan Sri Krishna, is assured of liberation. So now, after speaking much about Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, etc., now Bhagwan Sri Krishna is going to speak about Ashtanga Yoga in the next 2 verses. He is going to give us a trailer before he starts the action movie in chapter 6. We will now go to verse 27. Verse number 27. Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Sparshang krutva pahirbhayams, chaksushchevantara bhruvoho, pranapano samo krutva, nasa bhayantara charino. Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna gives us a preview of the upcoming chapter on Dhyana Yoga or meditation in this and the next shlok. He explains the technique of meditation in a nutshell. In a nutshell, the technique involves clearing the mind of all external sense objects, keeping the eyes focused on one point, and equalizing the incoming and outgoing breath. आप देखते हैं कि शाश्वत आत्मा प्रभावी नहीं हो सकती यदि मन हमेशा इंद्रियों विषयों पर निवास करता है. You see, the eternal soul cannot be effective if the mind is always dwelling on sense objects. Therefore, this technique requires us to temporarily cut off connection with sense objects. Now let's be practical here. We cannot shut off the world completely. That is, if we hear a sound somewhere, it will enter our ears. Then there is no benefit in closing the eyes altogether, because there is every possibility or every chance of falling asleep. This has happened to many of us. Just look around during Shivratri especially. Nor is there benefit in opening the eyes completely, because then there is the danger of being attracted by sense objects. Example, sound, touch, taste, smell. The point is that we should not let our mind chase or hanker after any sense perception. तो यहाँ मुख्य शब्द नियंत्रण है. So the key word here is control of the mind and senses. Next, Bhagwan Shri Krishna asks us to focus the eyes in the middle of the eyebrows. This is because it is the eyes that follow the mind and its thoughts. If the mind is restless, the eyes will wander. So, keeping the eyes steady has the effect of stabilizing the mind. In the same way, if the mind is restless, it is inflicted in the breath. It is affected in the breath. So we are asked to balance the incoming and outgoing breath with the aim of calming the mind. If the breathing becomes harmonious, we know that the mind has become calm. तो इस प्रकार श्री कृष्णा वर्णन करते हैं कि हमें किस प्रकार स्वयं को ध्यान के लिए शारीरिक रूप से तैयार करना चाहिए. So, in this manner, Shri Krishna describes how we should physically prepare ourselves for meditation. In the next shlok, he points out the internal preparation. Now we notice that this shlok ends in mid-sentence. So the rest of the sentence is found in the next shlok, shlok 28. Verse 28. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Yatendriya Manobuddhir Munir Moksha Parayanaha, Vikatecha Bhaya Krodho, Yah Sada Mukt Eva Saha. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So here Shri Krishna continues the preview of steps needed for preparing ourselves for meditation. He speaks about Saha in this shlok, and it means that person. So, that person refers to the person from the previous shlok who has prepared himself physically for meditation. Now the internal preparation is pointed out. पहले श्री कृष्णा कहते हैं कि ध्यान के लिए बैठते समय मुक्ति के अलावा और कोई उद्देश्य नहीं होना चाहिए. Firstly, Shri Krishna says that while sitting for meditation, there should be no other objective but that of liberation. If the objective is not pure, if one wants to harm someone by meditation, then the practice will be futile and the goal will not be reached. In Puranic literature, there are some examples of demons that practiced meditation for powers that will help them destroy others. This has a negative impact and should never be practiced. The only goal should be liberation. We must remember that no one can pray to Shri Krishna to curse us. Nobody can curse another human being. How can we pray to Shri Krishna to curse us when Shri Krishna himself is telling us to come to him having given up anger, lust, and greed. So how will Sri Krishna help us to curse someone else? That is something that we need to think about. Also important is the role that we identify with when we sit for meditation. You see, if we sit down as a father, we will always think of children. If we sit down as an employee, then we will always think of our job-related problems all the time. These roles naturally do not go away easily, either because of the strong bond. So, therefore, there should be no role while meditating. The prime objective should be surrendering to Bhagwan and liberation. Therefore, also important when we sit for any puja or satsang, we are all devotees of God. There's no discrimination, and then we can focus on Bhagwan. इस श्लोक में श्री कृष्णा 3 बहुत महत्वपूर्ण शब्दों को सामने लाते हैं। वे इच्छा, भय और क्रोध है। In this shlok, Bhagwan Shri Krishna brings up 3 very important words, and they are desire, fear, and anger. Why does he bring up these words in particular? What impact does the possession of these qualities have on a person who is striving to get closer to God and ultimately being liberated? Bhai अज्ञान का परिणाम है. Fear is a result of ignorance. What causes this fear in us? A. Blind attachment to our body, to our brothers and sisters, and to our possessions causes fear. B. In enjoyment, there is fear of disease. C. In social position, there is fear of losing one's wealth. D. In power, there is fear of enemies. E. In beauty, there is fear of old age. F. In body, there is fear of death. All the things of this world pertaining to man are attended with fear. इसलिए श्री कृष्णा ने अर्जुन को सलाह दी कि वह सभी भय को त्याग कर उनके सामने आत्मसमर्पण कर दे. Shri Krishna therefore advised Arjun to abandon all fear and surrender unto him. Of course, fear is an obvious natural instinct, and we would not be human without it. The Bhagavad-Gita does not erase fear. It rather reduces it to a mere sensation not worthy of attention. Bhagwan Shri Krishna also mentions getting rid of desire and anger. Together, they are the foundation from which the demonic vices develop. They become septic in the mind and make it a suitable ground for all other vices to take root. Bhagwan Shri Krishna calls desires and anger the gateways to hell. These are called highway robbers because they cause people to fall into the dark pit of hell, misery, and grief. काम और क्रोध दुख के 3 प्रमुख स्रोत हैं. Desire and anger are also the fountainheads of misery. They are the enemies of peace, devotion, and knowledge. When these evil vices arise in a person, he or she loses their inner balance and performs various evil actions. You know, desire is somewhat easy to control. But once we are in the grips of anger, it becomes somewhat difficult to do so. At least we do not publicly display our desires, but we do not hesitate to show our anger publicly. We require tremendous control over our minds in order to release ourselves from the grip of anger. We should always remember that when our foot slips, we can regain our balance. But when our tongue slips with devious words, we cannot recall. We cannot take back the words. इसलिए भगवान श्री कृष्ण इस श्लोक में कहते हैं, जब कोई भय, क्रोध और इच्छा से मुक्त होता है तभी उसके करीब हो सकता है. Therefore, Bhagwan Shri Krishna says in the shlok, only when one is freed from fear, anger and desire, then only can one become purified by God's knowledge, and then only will they attain spiritual love for Shri Krishna. We have to take complete shelter in Bhagwan Shri Krishna. We will now go to verse 29. Verse 29. We are now at the last shlok of this chapter 5. And this particular shlok is called the greatest peace on earth. The greatest P-E-A-C-E on earth. And are we not all striving for this? Why is it called this? Let us try to get deeper and try to understand why. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. भोक्ताराम यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोक महेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. तो इस श्लोक में श्री कृष्णा कहते हैं कि मुझे समस्त यज्ञों का भोक्ता और समस्त प्राणियों का निःस्वार्थ मित्र जानकर मेरा भक्त शांति को प्राप्त होगा. Shri Krishna says here, having realized me as the enjoyer of all sacrifices, as the controller of all worlds, and the selfless friend of all living beings, my devotee will attain peace from the pain of material miseries. In the prior two shloks, Shri Krishna provided a preview of meditation. In this shlok, he gives us the objective of meditation. In other words, this shlok tells us what one comes to know in this state of meditation. ध्यान का लक्ष्य शाश्वत आत्मा की प्राप्ति है. The goal of meditation is to realize the eternal soul. It is similar to a wave that realizes its identity with water. In this manner, the waves realizes that it is no longer the limited, independent wave that it once was. यह वास्तव में संपूर्ण महासागर है. It is in fact the entire ocean. Similarly, once the meditator realizes oneness with Brahman or the eternal soul, he attains Ishwar. वास्तव में ईश्वर कौन है? Who exactly is Ishwar? Firstly, he is the universal enjoyer. Any work that is performed for the welfare of society is automatically dedicated to Ishwar. We should therefore act in a selfless manner and dedicate all our actions to Ishwar. Ishwar is also the controller of all beings. So obviously, it is he who makes the rules by which our lives, as well as the lives of plants, animals, and immovable objects, are governed. अंत में ईश्वर के कानून निष्पक्ष है. वे सभी के साथ समान व्यवहार करते हैं. Finally, Ishwar's laws are fair. They treat everyone alike. They work without any expectation or ulterior motive. वे भी बिना रुके काम करते हैं. They also work non-stop, just like our hearts beats. and our breaths function all the time. So we clearly see that Ishwar is the highest well-wisher and sincere friend of all beings. He is there for us all the time, through good and bad. If we had to make friends with Ishwar, which is another way of saying that if we work in the best interest of the world, then we do not have to worry about our well-being. Bhagwan will take care of us. Now, in this shlok, Sri Krishna makes mention of the word material miseries. This material world is filled with miseries pertaining to our bodies and the mind. Miseries pertaining to natural disturbances and miseries inflicted by other living entities. We are born as human beings for a purpose. We are supposed to create a spiritual atmosphere by spreading the teachings of Bhagwan. Material enjoyment should be accepted only up to a point of the bare necessities of life and not more. I say this because to accept more material enjoyment means that we are binding ourselves more and more to the miseries of this material existence. More wealth, more promotions at work, more cars, more homes, and so on are some of the demands of a materially exposed persons, and many of us do fall into that category. और आप जानते हैं कि ऐसा क्यों है? क्योंकि उन्हें भगवान विष्णु की पूजा करने के लाभों के बारे में कोई जानकारी नहीं है. And you know why? It's because he has no knowledge on the benefits of worshipping भगवान विष्णु. आप देखिए, हम इस दुनिया के भौतिक दुखों को रोक नहीं सकते हैं. You see, we cannot stop the material miseries of this world, but surrendering to Sri Krishna is the antiseptic method to protect us from being affected by miseries of material nature. How is this possible? Let's take an example of a cat. The cat carries her kittens in her mouth, and when she kills a rat, she also carries it in her mouth. So both are carried in the mouth by the cat, but they are in different conditions. The kitten feels comfort in the mouth of the mother, that is the cat, whereas the rat feels the blows of death in the mouth of the cat. Similarly, those who are devotees of Bhagwan, those who are in the service of God, do not feel the contamination of material miseries, whereas those who are not in the service of God do feel the miseries of material existence. इसका मतलब यह नहीं है कि अगर हम श्री कृष्णा को समर्पण कर देंगे तो हम बीमार नहीं होंगे. It does not mean that if we surrender to Sri Krishna, then we won't get sick or face other challenges. We will, but we must take heed to what Sri Krishna said to Arjun. He said, "My dear Arjun, please try to tolerate all these disturbances and be fixed in Krishna activities." So therefore, anyone who comes to know the eternal soul and realizes his unity with God during meditation attains peace. In the Bhagavad-Gita, Sri Krishna beautifully includes all the genuine parts of spiritual practice, example, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, etc. But each time at the end, he qualifies them by stating that success in all these parts also require bhakti. Bhakti is such a nice thing. It is transcendental. When one is situated in bhakti, his mission of life is successful. Every one of us is suffering from the threefold miseries of material existence. But coming to the platform of bhakti, one immediately seizes this blazing fire of material existence. For us, bhakti is the foundation of our spiritual life. So, what does bhakti mean to all of us in daily life? 1. It means listening to Bhagwan's Leelas. 2. Associating with wise, learned people, with people well versed in scripture. 3. Singing kirtans and bhajans. And 4. Remembering Bhagwan at all times. We must also remember, bhakti does not arise by itself. It requires years of spiritual practice. It is bhakti that starts our journey on the path of spirituality. It keeps us away from negativity and evil karmas. Bhagwan Shri Krishna has spoken in this chapter about meditation and moving towards liberation. But in Kali Yuga, we are challenged at times in achieving this. So Bhagwan Shri Krishna has presented us with an alternative, and that is bhakti, which, when executed with love and sincerity, will lessen our challenges. May you all have a blissful Krishna Janma Astami. We would love to see you all at Radha Madhav Mandir, if possible. The program will start at 7, going up to midnight. Jai Shri Krishna.
कान्हा कन्हैया नंद लाला ओ मुरली वाला ऐसी बजाए मुरली मुरलिया जादू भरी कान्हा कन्हैया नंद लाला ओ मुरली वाला ऐसी बजाए मुरली मुरलिया जादू भरी देखो कुंवर कन्हाई कैसे रास रचाई ऐसी तान सुनाई सुध बुध सब बिसराई बाका उछेला निराला मुरली वाला ऐसी बजाए मुरली मुरलिया जादू भरी कान्हा कन्हैया नंद लाला ओ मुरली वाला ऐसी बजाए मुरली मुरलिया जादू भरी कान्हा कृष्ण मुरारी गोवर्धन गिरधारी काहे मटकी फोड़ी सुनते मीठी गारी आहे बड़े ब्रिज वाला ओ मुरली वाला ऐसी बजाए मुरली मुरलिया जादू भरी कान्हा कन्हैया नंद लाला ओ मुरली वाला ऐसी बजाए मुरली मुरलिया जादू भरी लाल की जय।
कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। गले में वैजंती माला बजावे मुरली मधुर भाला। श्रवण में कुंदन जल काला नंद के आनंद नंद लाला। गगन सम अंग कंठ काली राधिका चमक रही आली। लटन में ताही बनमाली ब्रह्म सी अलग कस्तूरी तिलक चंद सी झलक ललित छवि श्यामा प्यारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। कनक में मोर मुकुट बल से देवता दर्शन को तरसे। गगन सो सुमन राशि बरसे। बजे मूर्छंग मधुर मृदंग ग्वालिनी संग अतुल रस गोप कुमारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। जहाँ ते प्रगट भई गंगा कलुष कलहरणी श्री गंगा। स्मरण ते होत मोह भंगा बसी शिव शेष जटा के बीच। हरे अध कीच चरण छवि श्री बनवारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। चमकती उज्ज्वल तट रेणु बज रही वृंदावन वेणु। जहाँ दिशि गोपी ग्वाल देनु बजत मृदंग चांदनी संग। कटक भव फंद तेन सन दीन भिखारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी की। आरती कुंज बिहारी की श्री गिरधर कृष्ण मुरारी
कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। ॐ मङ्गलं भगवान् विष्णु मङ्गलं गरुत्वध्वज मङ्गलं पुण्डरीकाक्ष मङ्गलाये तनोहरि। ॐ सर्वमङ्गलमङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बिके गौरी नारायणी नमोऽस्तुते नारायणी नमोऽस्तुते नारायणी नमोऽस्तुते। ॐ यानि कानि च पापानि जन्मान्तरकृतानि च तानि तानि विनश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे। ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमस्यो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ अपराधः सहस्राणि क्रियन्ते हर्मिषं मया दास्योऽयमिति मामत्व क्षमस्व परमेश्वर। ॐ आवाहनं न जानामि विसर्जनं पूजा चैव न जानामि क्षमस्व परमेश्वर। ॐ अन्यथा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्षस्व त्वं परमेश्वर। ॐ बोलो गणेश भगवान की जय। ॐ सीताराम की जय। ॐ लक्ष्मण जी की जय। ॐ पवन पुत्र हनुमान की जय। ॐ राधे कृष्ण भगवान की जय। ॐ शिव शंकर पार्वती माता की जय। ॐ दुर्गा काली सरस्वती लक्ष्मी माता की जय। ॐ सब पितृदेव की जय। ॐ सनातन धर्म की जय। ॐ श्री लक्ष्मी नारायण भगवान की जय। ॐ राधा माधव की जय। ॐ नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव हर। जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे श्याम। जय सिया राम।